Energy Institute of Engineering and Technology, the Department of Electronics and Communication, welcomes you to the session of Power Electronics. Today, I am going to discuss about unit 4, that is inverters, with topic single phase full bridge inverter. So let's start the session. As we discussed in the last session about the half-wave bridge inverter, now in this session let's talk about the single phase full bridge inverter. Here in the circuit diagram there are two possible voltages. First one is the positive voltage and the second one is the negative voltage. Now the amount of positive and negative voltage appear in the circuit will be decided by the transistor turn-on process. So here we will get the positive voltage across the load. Here the voltage across the load can be depend on the type of load, that whether the type of load is inductive type or whether it is a pure resistive type. So here in the first half, to get the positive voltage, the transistor Q1 and Q4 are turned on, and to get the negative voltage, the transistor Q3 and Q2 are turned on. Means either in the first half positive plus voltage will appear when the Q1 and Q4 are turned on, and to get the negative voltage, the transistor Q3 and Q2 are turned on. So here the diodes used in the circuit diagram are a feedback diode depending on the load. Means if the depending load is of inductive type, then the diodes used are feedback diodes. But if there is a resistive load present in the circuit, then there is no use of feedback diode. The single PN junction diode can be used or power diode can be used. So this is the circuit diagram of it. Here you can see that first voltage is applied and across it the Q1 transistor is with diode 1 and Q4 and D4 is with Q4 transistor is with diode D4. So here across this transistor and diode structure, the load will appear. Here the load can be of so here in the circuit for the first half cycle, the transistor with diode 1 is Q1 and D1 will start operating with transistor Q4 and D4, and the negative half cycle means after the plus V by 2 and voltage, when the negative V by 2 voltage is applied, at that time this transistor Q3 with diode D3 and transistor Q2 with diode D2 will start operating. So for the single phase full bridge inverter, let's see how it can be operated and the waveforms for it. So for the waveforms of single phase inverter, here we consider that the load voltage or load current is in phase with the load voltage. Means we talk about only the resistive type of load. So when the resistive type of load is there, there will be no phase difference between them. And we can say that the conduction period for each transistor equal to V by R. Basically, this is the current flowing through each transistor, so it can be given by the equation V by R. Peak forward voltage means the waveform can be appear with the maximum peak voltage at level plus V volt. There can also be possibility of minus V volt if we operate in a negative half cycle. Here you can see by this waveform that at a time the transistor Q1 and Q4 will start operating. Means at that time the diode D1 and D4 and the negative half cycle when the transistor Q2 and Q3 will start operating at that time also the diode D2 and D3 will start conduction. So the waveform for the pure resistive type circuit is like this square waveform, and in case of inductive type of load, it will be like this. Here you can see that the energy stored by the inductor will be increasing when the transistor Q1 and Q4 will start conducting, and it will be decreasing when the transistors Q2 and Q3 will start operating. For the analysis of bridge and inverter, the RMS output voltage. The RMS output voltage is the root mean square value of the output voltage. It can be given by the equation, that is 1 upon T by 2. Why we take 1 upon T by 2? Because in the positive half cycle, the time period is from 0 to T by 2. That's why we have to take the time period integration from 0 to T by 2 integration from 0 to t by 2 d square dt raised to 1 by 2. So if we integrate this term, then we have to take the integration over the time period. So d square is constant, so it will be the out of the integration. So it can be written like 2v square upon t integration from 0 to t by 2 dt. Here there is no term of time present, so we write only the t, and instead of t we can take the t by 2 minus 0 raised to 1 by 2. If we simplify this equation, we can get the value like V volt. That's why the RMS value for the voltage is V volt. Now for the operation, we can understand this operation by this step table. Like it can be operated in the 4 different modes. Now the depending mode depends on the conduction of transistor as well as for the conduction of diodes. So for the when the transistor Q1 and Q4 will start the conduction, at that time the positive voltage will appear across the load. So that's why here we write plus Q for Q1 and Q4. The voltage is plus V volt, and at that time the output current is positive because it will operate into positive half cycle. Even if we talk about the inductive type of load, that in that case also the graph is exponentially increases, and that's why the output current is positive. Now if the output current is positive, then power flow will be decided by the amount of this output current. So for the amount of output current means it is positive. So the power flow is from the source to load side, means it is again positive. For the second half, for the second mode, we can say that when at that time the two diodes will start operating, means D2 and D3 will start operating, you can see over here. But for that, when this diode D2 and D3 will start operating, the output voltage appear is negative, and that's why we can say that the power can be decided by the multiplication of voltage and current. And if the power is one term is negative, means voltage is negative, so power flow will be from load to source side. Same way for the third mode also we can consider. For the third mode, we can say that the Q3 and Q2 will start operating, and for the transistor Q3 and Q2 we can say that at that time again the output voltage is negative, and similar to the T2 and T3 time period, for T3 and T4 also the output voltage will be negative, and same way the current will also be negative. But because power is the multiplication of this voltage as well as the current, and that's why the voltage is negative and current is also negative, so that here you can see that the power flow is from the source to load side, and in the time interval of T3 to T4. Now for the better understanding of the performance parameters, we should use the Fourier series component. For the Fourier series component, we can use the terms E and V, and for that we have to consider the load voltage waveform of this bridge inverter. For the load voltage waveform, the instantaneous output voltage can be expressed like this term, that is sigma from n equal to 135, means odd number of harmonics to infinite, 4b upon n pi sin n omega t. Here n is the order of harmonic, omega is the angular frequency. So the output voltage can be given by the summation of 4b upon n pi into sin omega t. So for n equal to 1, 3 and 5, if you put this n in the equation, we get the value, that is 4b upon 5 sin omega t, 4b upon 3 pi sin 3 omega t, and plus 4b upon 5 pi sin 5 omega t. So this is the final equation for the odd number of harmonic. You can also use the even number of harmonic, but after the Fourier series expansion, the even harmonics are cancelled out, and that's why here in the equation the odd number of harmonics are generated as we have done in the half-wave inverter. Now, by using the same equation for the output voltage V0, we should use the n equal to 1 formula that for the fundamental component. Now the question is why we require this fundamental component. So fundamental component is required to find out the value of the harmonic factor. So when we put the n equal to 1 in the equation, so we get the fundamental component voltage at 4V upon root 2 pi. So if we calculate this 4V upon root 2 pi, it will give us the fundamental value of voltage as 0.9 volt. So the equation for the instantaneous output current for RL load can be given by the summation of 4V upon n pi. Here you can see this term R square plus n omega L square. So this R square plus n omega L square is, this equation is used for the inductive type of load, means when the load is resistor plus inductive series, means R plus omega j omega L is the total impedance, then in that case you should use this expression. But if there is only the resistive load is present in the equation, then you have to simply write the square root of R square, which is R. So according to the type of load, you can use this formula. Same way, you can also decide the power factor, that is tan inverse of reactive type of the load divided by the pure load, that is resistor, and reactive type load is omega L. So equation for theta n is tan inverse of n omega L upon R. Now, by considering this, let's see one example related to it. A single phase bridge inverter has a resistive load R equal to 2.4 ohm, DC input voltage of 48 volts. You have to determine the various terms, that is RMS, output voltage at fundamental frequency, output power, average and peak current of each transistor, and total harmonic distortion, and the last one is harmonic factor and distortion factor. So let's see the solution for it. First of all, let's find out the RMS output voltage for the fundamental frequency. For this, the equation that we have seen in the last slide is 0.9V. Here the voltage is given in the equation, so we have to simply put it over here. So 0.9 into 48 means the answer is 43.2 volt. Next one is RMS output voltage. For the RMS output voltage, it is given by the, first we have to find out the power, that is V square upon R, and it is given by 48 square upon 2.4, means the applied voltage is given. You have to simply put it in the equation. So you get 48 square upon the value of resistor, that is 2.4. So you can get the answer 960 volt, that is the value of RMS output power. Now, for finding out the peak transistor current, current is the ratio of voltage upon resistance. We have already given the value of the voltage. So if you put it over here, it will be 48 upon 2.4. So you get the answer 20 ampere for the peak transistor current. Now for the average transistor current, it will be the peak current divided by 2, because the RMS value is the maximum value upon root 2, but for the transistor, it will be the peak current divided by 2. So the answer is 20 by 2 means 10 ampere. Now for the total harmonic distortion, actually the harmonic distortion factor is the ratio of the harmonic component present divided by the fundamental values. So first of all, the RMS harmonic voltage is given by the n equal to 35725 into voltage square, Vn square, where n is the number of harmonic. So it is given by the RMS value minus fundamental value of voltage, square root of both the difference will be taken. So if we take it, it will be the 48 square minus 43.2 volt square, and square root of it will give us the value of supply voltage, that is 20.92 volt. So for that, the total harmonic distortion is the number of harmonic factor difference divided by the fundamental frequency value. So it gives us the value 43%. Same way for the lowest order of harmonic. Now the harmonics that are created are of 1, 3, 5 and 7. So among them, the first one is the fundamental value. So the lowest order of harmonic is obviously the third one. So for the lowest order of the harmonic, we have to calculate the third harmonic value. And harmonic is actually the supply voltage value divided by the fundamental. So it will be the RMS upon 3. If you want to find out the middle one harmonic, then you have to find out the fifth harmonic. And in that case, you have to divide this by factor 5. Means V0 RMS upon 5. In this case, we have to return the third number of harmonic, and that's why V0 RMS upon 3. For the harmonic factor, it is RMS value upon fundamental value. So RMS value is V3 RMS upon V0 RMS is fundamental. So let's put the values. We get the answer, that is 0.33 means 33.33%. This is the harmonic factor for the lowest order of harmonic. Same way we can also find out the distortion factor for the third harmonic. It is the RMS value upon factor square. Here we have to calculate it for the third one. So we have to divide it by factor 3. If you want to calculate for the seventh, then you have to calculate the RMS value of seventh harmonic by the factor 7. So here we have to calculate the lowest order harmonic, that is the third harmonic. So simply let's put it, that's V3 RMS upon 3 square divided by the fundamental value. The fundamental value is V1 RMS. So if we put this, we get the answer 1/27 means 3.704%. We can also compare by this session that about the half wave inverter with the full inverter. So let's see comparison of it. So it will be compared by the several parameters of it for the full bridge inverter as well as for the half bridge inverter. So let's take first the case of the half bridge inverter. So in that case, first let's see the number of transistors used. So obviously in a half bridge inverter we have seen that the construction uses the 2 number of transistors, while in case of the full bridge inverter you require the 4 number of transistors. So in the half bridge you require 2, and in case of full bridge 4 number of transistors are required. Obviously in both the cases the efficiency is high, but comparative to full bridge, half bridge offers somewhat less efficiency. The waveforms can be depend on the type of load, that whether resistive you can get the square, whether inductive you can get the quasi square or PWM, pulse width modulating type waveform. In case of current rating also, it will be equal to the load current in both the cases. Either you can take the full bridge case or the half bridge case. In both the cases, current rating depend on the load current. Means it is actually the multiplication of voltage and current term. So it can be divided by the active power factor. So now, if we don't want to talk about the number of devices conducting simultaneously, so in case of half bridge, only one device can conduct it, and in case of full bridge, we have seen that at a time either the transistor Q1 and Q4 or Q2 and Q3 or even the diode D1 and D2 or D3 and D4 can start conducting. So we can say the number of devices conducting is 2. Necessity of deadband to avoid the cross conduction. In the last session we have talked about the cross conduction, that it should be as minimum as possible. So in case of half bridge and full bridge, in both the cases it will be required. Okay. Up to this, if you have any doubt or queries regarding this session, you can ask me on my mail ID. Thank you for watching.